Hi guys, we are live with Jacob. If any one of you has a question, you can answer. You can ask. We are live. If you ask, you can ask us any question that you have. Let me. Yeah, you can ask us any question that you have, and we shall really appreciate. So anyone with a question, ask us, and yeah, we are watching this, and then we shall go to the
to protect the country and to protect lives.
You acted as commander-in-chief. You also acted as president, head of government, and the person who took the sword and promised to protect the people of Kenya. You chair the National Security Council, which brings in the head of the police, the head of the intelligence, the head of the military, and cabinet secretaries in those dockets. Did you have information prior to Tuesday that there was going to be infiltration of the peaceful demonstrations by the criminal elements that you've talked about more than once? And if you did, what did you do about it?
We had information, and that is why we prepared in the manner in which we did. If we hadn't prepared in the manner in which we did, we would not be counting 19. We would be counting different numbers.
Okay.
And I am telling you that the level of mobilization by criminals was heavy. In fact, many of the peaceful protesters, many of the young people, very well-meaning young people, left the town by 10, maybe 11, because they realized, and in fact, you could hear them in their zelo. They were saying, guys, we are this is not our group. Let us go. Let us leave. You could hear them. It was in public domain that the peaceful demonstrators all of a sudden realized that the whole thing had metamorphosed into criminality.
So the criminal elements that basically hijacked. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Mr. President, how many people are in custody on account of this? Those who you said they conducted treasonous activities, they were criminal elements. They
you will see them in court tomorrow.
How many people are in custody?
You will see them in court tomorrow. The police know what I have a ballpark brief by the police that they have enough people. They have actually, because in Kenya nowadays, you cannot commit crime and get away with it. Those who attacked Parliament are on CCTV. Those who attacked the judiciary are on CCTV. Those who attacked everywhere, those who destroyed people's shops are on CCTV. Many of them are on the run, but we will catch them.
Similarly, Your Excellency.
Are the funds
Similarly, Excellency. Similarly.
So to your question, so the police are at it. Because
guys, the title of this video is about the rat rates, but we comment on this. And then we shall
speak of them protesters being on CCTV.
Not the protesters, I'm saying the criminals who attacked Parliament.
Right. Now, every policeman also, without uniform, conducted an abduction, has also been captured on camera. Those who captured Shad Kiprono were captured on camera. Those who captured Alfred Kiter today were captured on camera, and a number of other such incidents. Similarly, so that because I can hear you balancing.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, are we going to see action against the killer cops, or were they doing what you are saying you had to do to prevent this from being bad?
Any killer cop who went beyond what is provided for in the law, action will be taken against them. To your question, are you telling me, Lenas, that a police officer becomes only a police officer when they are in uniform? No. Police officers can identify themselves even when they are in civilian. So, and when a police officer comes to you and says, this is my ID, I am police officer, you are under arrest for the following reasons, that is legitimate. You cannot tell me that because they were in civilian, then what they did was wrong.
And you know that's not what they do.
And
That's not all you need to Alfred Ketero or Shad Kiprono.
Were you there?
We have the CCTV footage. It's there.
I would suggest, Linus, that we be fair to the police as well. And I have given you my word. Any police officer who does anything beyond the provisions of the law know the consequences. Just as any citizen who also participates in actions that are outside the law, they also know the consequences. And it is our responsibility to make sure that security agencies act in accordance with the law. As citizens, we act in accordance with the law so that we can have a law-abiding, rules-based, rule of law-based country.
As things stand now, Mr. President, are you satisfied with how the police handled this whole matter?
I think the police have done the best they could. If there are any excesses, we have mechanisms to make sure that those excesses are dealt with.
Let's wrap it this way, Your Excellency, on that topic. You have absolutely no regrets about the abductions and no regrets about the killings.
Those are your words. Those are not mine.
They're also your deputy's words.
Don't put words in my mouth.
They're also your deputy's words, and he's part of your government, because it's so scary, Mr. President, sitting there and telling the whole country that from this moment on, we should not believe what your deputy tells us about the state of the nation until you speak. Yet we all thought that you're part of the same government.
Don't inject my deputy into this conversation. I think it is not fair, since he's not here, to tell you in what context he said whatever he said. I think it is not proper to discuss the deputy president here, and he's my deputy. Please let me deal.
But have you asked him that you had a press conference?
Deal with the issues as they are now. I think being personal and going that direction does not help.
I wish this was personal, Mr. President, but it's a really serious national issue that right after you spoke, your deputy told the whole world that he was informing us that extrajudicial killings and abductions had returned to this government that he's part of. How surely can that be personal, Mr. President?
I am sure that if you interview the deputy president, he will answer that appropriately.
You haven't asked him?
You can take it from me that extrajudicial killing will not be part of an administration that I run. I can say that without contradiction.
Yes, in the interest of moving this conversation forward, Your Excellency, I want us to look into the last 2 extraordinary weeks that this country has had. Protests that you called tribalists and some of your aides called leaderless. But protests that are led by young people who are unhappy with how you've run this country for the last just under 2 years now. But the question they have as they look at you and watch as you speak today, Your Excellency, do you get it?
I get it. Let me tell you, my good friend Linus. What we are facing today is not a product of 2 years. What we are facing today is a product of many years. We've had a problem, a youth bulge, a demographic challenge as a nation, which we have ignored for very long. For the first time, I have decided that I am going to be deliberate, I am going to be intentional on tackling the challenge of young people and unemployment in Kenya.
By shipping them to Germany and other countries.
There is an administration that thinks about the young people. Let me give you 3 examples, maybe 4.
Well, let's keep it within the 2 weeks, please.
No, it's okay. It's the 2 weeks.
Yes.
But don't look at the 2 weeks in isolation. The young people we have in the street did not happen in the last 2 weeks. They were not born when I became president. They were not jobless when I became. They did not become jobless when I became president. These are young people who, over the years, we have close to 4.5 million young people who are out of school out of college with degrees, certificates, diplomas, without jobs. And that is why I have done 4 things. Number one, when I pushed the housing program, it was not about the houses. It was about the jobs. Today, as I talk to you, Linus, we have 160,000 young people working in different parts of Kenya under our housing program. In Mukuru, here in Nairobi, and I challenge you, Linus, to go there tomorrow. There are close to 4,000 young people working who are jobless. Number two, I have a whole program.
These guys are big
digital jobs. I was in Ruto.
Now, yes,
MP for and just allow me.
Allow me to interrupt you.
No, allow me.
There are risks on both ends of this interview.
No, you told me.
I want us to
the young people
talk about the last 2 weeks. The young people are saying you don't get it. You don't understand what they're talking about. Now, what is the trigger here? They're saying there was this conversation about the finance bill that your government, until the other day, did not listen to anybody. It's not about the housing project. It's about listening. They are saying yours is not a listening presidency, and yours is not a listening government.
How best can I listen to the young people of Kenya if I am not addressing their issues? And that is why I want to tell you, Linus, these young people, what is their biggest issue? They have talents. They have gone to school. They have no jobs. That is the problem. And I am addressing those issues. Housing is one of them. Digital jobs is another. I was in Ruto with Simon Kingara, the MP for Ruto, launching an ICT hub that is hiring already 5,000 young people. Our whole plan, including what was in the finance bill, was to increase CDF by 10 billion shillings to roll out ICT hubs in every ward in the Republic of Kenya, so that we can hire young people, train them, put them on digital jobs. I have a third program on export of labor.
Mr. President.
I have a fourth program on manufacturing, to be able to create more opportunities for the young people of our country.
And we want to inform you, they're no longer just talking about things that can be done to them as a demographic. They are looking at the big picture. Finance bill brought them out. And when did they come in? They came in after all public participation forums were not listened to. Kenya Association of Manufacturers spoke to the parliamentary committee, same thing, and said this is a bad bill. Association of Insurance spoke to the parliamentary team, this is a bad bill. We had a big conversation on national television, this is a bad bill. You did not listen. You had a meeting here with your UDA MPs, and at some point told them to pass it as it is. And until the last week, that was the first Tuesday when the protests were there, when now you offered to some amendments. They're saying you're just not listening, and it's not about them, it's about the big picture issues, and we'll come to them, including the question of corruption, which is not really a youth thing.
Indeed, Mr. And just to add on to that, Mr. President,
have been more
Mr. President, I just want to come
in your analysis.
I just want to add on to that, Mr.
Because
I want to add on
because let me just finish it.
It's the same question.
Okay.
Same question. Mr. President, if you went into all the X spaces where the youth are speaking, if you looked at the demonstrations and what they were saying, the placards they are carrying, none of them has talked about we don't have jobs. None of them have talked about the housing jobs are not enough for us. None of them have talked anything about what you have mentioned. So it's not that they are not seeing about the jobs. It is beyond that, Mr. President. And respectfully, I want to put it to you that you're not hearing what they're saying.
We had after the protests, after all those things you described, that's the time that you came.
Let me tell you the following. The rejection of the finance bill, and this goes to what Linus has said, that we didn't hear anything. Let me tell you, the process of a finance bill, in fact, many people believe in Kenya that the finance bill is an invention of William Ruto. It is not an invention of William Ruto. The finance bill is an instrument that has been with us ever since independence. Only that we have made it much more transparent. Only that we have brought out more to the public. And that is why there is greater interrogation of what government is doing, especially after the new constitution that made public participation not a sterile provision of the constitution, but public participation to be an integral part of lawmaking, an integral part of managing the country. Let me tell you, when we took the bill,
like he's gotten a platform to defend himself. That's what.
New revenue. When MPs went out
to
the public said, we don't think this is good. We don't think this is good. It was reduced by 140-something billion shillings. It remained just 200 billion. Doesn't that amount to listening?
No, it doesn't.
That the public said, reduce this by...
No, it doesn't, Mr. President. And that's why I said reject it.
Just wait a bit. No, we are talking about listening.
Is it good right now? You can read its beauty. You can comment. Is it good? Is the echo finished? You can comment with us. Can confirm.
What went into the space was the people who wanted to mislead the public, to say, oh, you see, in fact, everything you have been told is still there. This was not removed. These people are not listening. These people are not listening. And let me tell you, my good friend Latif.
Thank you.
We have dropped the finance bill.
Thank you.
What does that mean? It means we have gone back almost 2 years. It means that this year, we are going to borrow $1 trillion shillings.
Thank you.
To be able to run our government. That's what it means. I have been working very hard to pull Kenya out of a debt trap.
Mr. President.
Let me just allow me, because we need to contextualize this finance bill. It is easy, Joe.
What sometimes mean working hard, transparent. We are not on the same page.
Yeah, by the international community.
Yes, that's what he cares about. And those are kuna if Nasha Chon, and guys, kuna something called ECG in the international communities. ECG, environmental, ECG, whatever. ESG, it's called ESG, and those are the words those people were ISO campaign, and Elon Musk doesn't follow them. That's why Twitter, people don't advertise on Twitter, because it doesn't follow the ESG part. I will share what ESG means right now. Yeah. We can listen. We can
potatoes from Europe when we have potatoes in his village. You just told me in Kimana. We have potatoes in Nyandarua. We have onions all over the place.
That may well be. I think the problem has been, these are people who are saying they haven't been listened to. You only listen because you said on that night, on that Wednesday night, that is the moment you said that you had realized, Mr. President, that Kenyans did not want anything to do with that bill. And one would wonder, how can that be, Mr. President? And you have had all these presentations that have been made. Did it have to take demonstrations and sadly loss of lives for you to come to a point where you'd realize what your people, the people that voted for you, are saying? That, I think, is what the young people are asking.
Let me tell you, Joe, members of parliament are representatives of the people.
But they are your party and they follow your words.
They are not fools. And they
Yeah,
are
fools.
And I want to say, one day, Kenya will know that the MPs who voted yes are the true heroes of Kenya. Those are the people who saw the opportunity for us to unchain our country from debt traps and take our country to the future. Let me tell you, Joe, And I want to say this to the people of Kenya, that my plan was to make sure that in the next 3 years, maximum 4 years, we have a balanced budget, where Kenya is not the country where we are today. Let me tell you, gentlemen, and I want to tell the people of Kenya the following. We are in a very difficult financial position.
And
this is something that the people of Kenya must understand. And that is why I am happy that we have a crisis. This crisis will help us be candid and talk to each other properly and contextualize where we are. We raised this year 2.3 trillion from our taxes. Of that 2.3 trillion, 1.1 trillion went to debt financing. 1 trillion went to salaries. What did we do? We had to go and borrow to pay the counties. We had to go and borrow to fund our education. We had to go and borrow to fund. Now, the funding gap we have done with the finance bill going down is that instead of borrowing 600 billion, we are going to borrow 600 billion plus 346 billion. That is close to $1 trillion. And let me tell you, my good friends, and I want us to be honest with ourselves. This is not how a country will get to a status where we are proud of our nation. This is not how we are going to, this is not how we are going to grow. And that is why, Linus, this situation, this crisis is a very important inflection point that we can sit together, assess, let us agree. Let us agree. Do we continue borrowing? And let me give you the statistics. When in 2013, Linus, just allow me 1 minute.
Not even Kenyans. Uliona venye alikuja akaongea history ya budget at church goers believed him. Our mothers believed him. Our parents walimwamini wakasema usimwache madam. Well, I don't consider that.
11 trillion. 10.6.
Those award people walimweka kwa hiyo kitu. Ni wakiona wanamwamini. Like seriously. So I believe the prayer
we did many things in 10 years. But we were doing it on debt. Today, we don't have the luxury to borrow because we have reached the limit. And today, let me finish. Today, all the money we borrowed from 2013 is maturing. That is why the biggest challenge that we have as a nation is that we are spending 1.1 trillion every year of taxes we collect from ordinary Kenyans to pay debt, and not the whole debt.
That's
interest alone.
Yeah. Interest principal comes to 1.8 trillion this year.
So, my good friends, and yet you want to tell me, William Ruto, don't collect domestic taxes. Go borrow more money.
No, Mr. President.
That's not what they're saying.
What is the alternative?
Yeah, and I just wanted to...
What is the alternative? Just help me there.
Yeah.
Because
that's the issue. People are not fair. I think he doesn't get the point up to this point. The point is, he does not listen. He's not listening.
No magic.
If he understand, we are not against taxes.
Do not listen.
I think mtu anaweza akasema tax no. Go to this kama Sweden, I have never lived there. Germany is very high. Even the US, for instance, history rat rates, because this rat rates, history rat rates, they do pay.
And
they don't have an issue of paying their taxes. The issue is how to spend the taxes. Yeah. And how empowered your people are. They have to pay those taxes. Yeah. And this guy is not doing it.
Increasingly, don't associate the truth with you.
That is your assessment because you have never associated the truth with me from the beginning.
No, there's quite a number of Kenyans.
No, I mean, that is
we asked people before we came here.
That's the assessment.
Yeah. And many of those that responded to me directly and to even our platforms on KTN News, on Spice FM, on NTV, on Citizen, And we were asking them, what question should we ask the president this evening? And the one thing that many of them were saying is, when will he stop lying? So it's not
But can you tell us the truth this time?
Let me say the following. I told the people of Kenya that I would reduce the prices of fertilizer from 7,000 to 2,500. I don't know how that is a lie, because they buy it at 2,500.
Okay.
I told the people of Kenya we're going to have a housing program. A housing program is underway in Kenya. I can tell you, Linus, that whether you believe me or not, facts will not change.
Yeah, and
facts are not changed by who says it.
And allow me to step back a bit, Your Excellency.
Facts are very stubborn.
Allow me to step back a bit.
Yes.
And what I'll do is we'll play clips, just a little combination of clips of yourself speaking not too long ago, and I want us to listen to that. I'll stand out of the way because you said it's me that doesn't share the truth with you, and I would like you to respond to yourself, to the clips that we are going to play.
You see, Linus.
Let's watch that, Your Excellency.
I think, Linus, you don't bring clips that are in a biased way. You select maybe something that has not happened. Can you be fair and select clips across the board? What I said and has been done, and what I said and maybe has not been done.
So let's watch that. Maybe you can watch that.
Waeleze ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa hapa Manga, tafadhali, mkiona tumesimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia ya kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya mwananchi wa kawaida. If you have good ideas, why do you need the police? Why do you need blackmail? Why do you need intimidation? If you have better ideas, sell them to the people of Kenya. There are enough intelligent people in Kenya to differentiate what is good from what is better and what is best.
Ni jambo mbaya sana kama tutatumia askari polisi kuumiza wananchi wasio na hatia, eti kwa sababu wako na maoni tofauti ya kisiasa.
Niwaeleze ya kwamba
I agree with that. It is not fair to use the police to harass citizens who have a contrary opinion. And that is perfect.
That's what they're accusing you of.
I still believe that.
That's what they're accusing you of.
But you don't tell me that... What is the problem with Alfred Keter?
Yeah.
Alfred Keter, no, it's not a contrary opinion. I mean, the police have said why they arrested him. It is not because of me. I didn't give any instructions. I didn't even know what was going on. Let me tell you, Linus, I am a very clear-minded person on what I say. When it is the police, I have said, many of the people who opposed me, many of the people who were very scared about what I would do when I become president, even the people who did worse things against me, I have never gone after them because I don't believe in settling political scores using the power of state or using the police. Let me also say the following. When I talked about the taxes that I was
on the campaign trail, yes.
I was addressing in the campaign trail, it was very obvious that when at that time we were in subsidies, that did not make sense. It is because I removed the subsidies and I changed and put production support. That is why today the price of unga has come down from 240 to 100, because I changed the model. I changed the configuration, and it is giving us results.
But are you aware, Mr. President, that the thing, perhaps apart from now the police brutality that people associate you the most, is the issue of taxes? I'm sure you know the name they call you. You've actually talked about it even yourself. This guy that they want to come down.
Let me tell you, my good brother, Ageo. When I came into office, and I assessed the situation, and it was no longer possible for us to borrow money, I had to be honest with the people of Kenya. I had to tell them we have two options, right? And even as we imposed taxes, we explained, we made sure that there was adequate, elaborate public participation on what it is that we were trying to achieve. Let me tell you the following. I have done the best that I could globally. Today, our country has tremendous respect from many quarters globally because of what I have done. I have raised the profile of our country. Today, I was in Narok, and the tourism numbers in 2022, 1 million tourists. In 2023, last year, 2 million tourists. This year, by God's grace, we will get to 2.7 million tourists because of the profile that I have done for the country. I know somebody will say that that there is no truth in that, but call the tourism sector. They will tell you themselves that all hotels in Kenya today are operating 80% upwards, which is a new phenomenon in Kenya. I will also tell you that the international community have developed enormous confidence in Kenya. I see people who are saying, why did William Ruto go to China? Why did William Ruto go to Europe? Why did William Ruto go to America? Let me just tell you the following. When I went to China, we got money to be able to put equipment in 70 of our technical training colleges. Today, the contract has been signed, the equipment is being manufactured. When I went to China, we got money to build Boston Dam that has been waiting, that will serve the counties of Bomet and Kericho. When I went to China, we got money to build, we got 30 billion shillings to build roads in Nyandarua, in Kirinyaga, in 8 other constituencies in Kenya. That's why I went to China. When I went to America, we got a $1 billion facility to be built in Naivasha that is going to be the biggest data center in Africa, funded by UAE, working with Microsoft and Kenya. When I went to the US, we also agreed Kenya became the only country in Africa that is going to benefit from the CHIPS Act, where we will be manufacturing computer chips with other countries. Kenya will be among the first, will be actually the only country in Africa that will benefit from that. And so many of the young people who I see today,
right? That's the game plan. So he sets a system in place so that once Kenya starts making those money, the tax system already was making written. And you know, have you seen his sort of investments?
Yeah.
Where?
Because I have explained to the people of Kenya that the option we have is if we continue borrowing, we will go down the cliff. If that is what is going to take Kenya to be saved from a debt default, I don't mind being called Sakaya.
So I can see here.
It's a sacrifice worth making.
Mr. President, every morning,
so it's telling
we have 4 hours of a talk show.
So telling
Sometimes we ask people, even those who come to the show, to tell us what is it that the nation is saying when we are seeing people out on the streets. And many of them, even when we said that we're coming, you have invited us to come and have this conversation this evening, they said, tell the president that he's tone deaf. And we ask why and how. And they say, when William Ruto took over as president, he took over a budget of 3.2 trillion shillings. He went to Parliament and he said, Honorable Speakers, I believe that this budget is too high. We should cut it by 300 billion shillings. So you believed barely 1.5 years ago that you can run the country with 2.9 trillion shillings. Barely a few months, you went to Parliament and requested to spend 3.6 trillion shillings. This year, you went to Parliament and initially requested to spend 4.2 trillion shillings. And what do they see in return? They see extravagance in government. They see a government that is pushing gung-ho to employ new people called CASs. They see a government that is purchasing new motor vehicles and trips that are extravagant. They see opulence with those that are close to the president appearing in public carrying wads of cash.
Yes.
They see condescending attitude from those who serve in this government when they're asked, why are you spending? And they respond the way they respond. Your advisors speaking the same. And so they see a government where the president is telling people, we are going to live within our means. We are all going to tighten our belts. We have austerity. They end up with their children not going to school because for months, JS teachers are on strike. They end up with, right now, 91 days where clinical officers have not been to work. 91 days, Mr. President. We ended up with intern doctors going on strike for weeks because the government says it has no money. We end up with people going to the hospitals and there's no medicine. We end up with people who are being told that we don't have money to pay salaries, or we don't have money to pay salaries and also having development. Yet, they see all this extravagance and opulence from those in power. You are tone deaf, Mr. President, that's what they say.
Well, I guess that's why we must have a conversation. That's why we must have a conversation. And I'm very happy for us to have this conversation so that we can put the facts on the table and we can all of us make a decision. But let me tell you the following. I've listened to you, and let me also tell you that today, the universities, which were almost closed, they had debts of 60 billion shillings. I have enhanced their budget by 40 billion shillings, the universities, because education to me is very important. It is the greatest equalizer. Today, the universities can confirm to you, and I was sitting here with the vice chancellors, that I made the right decision because we are funding the universities better. Let me also tell you, I took the decision to hire additional teachers, 56,000. It has never happened in the history of Kenya. Why? Because education is the greatest equalizer. Many parents in rural Kenya take their children to schools that have no teacher. And we are disadvantaging them. The children of the poor get the worst form of education. They have no chance. I decided, because I said it is bottom up, I decided that I'm going to put more money in making sure the child of every Kenyan has an opportunity to be their best by giving them the correct education. I decided that I am going to put money in farming. The first year, I put 10 billion shillings in fertilizer subsidy, a program that had been scrapped for 5 years. The difference is obvious. Today, by God's grace, we have a harvest. The prices of food commodities has come down. Day before yesterday, Latif, there was a release of where we are with inflation. Inflation in Kenya is now 4.6%. When I came into office, it was 9%. Inflation coming from food products. It was reported not by me, by the institutions that are charged, 4.6%. We have, where I have invested money, I can account for it.
Right.
And it is making a difference in the lives
Their
of
concern
many.
is on extravagance in government.
I will come to
opulence in
on opulence and extravagance. Every trip I have made, I have not made any trip outside Kenya to go and do things that are of no benefit to this nation. I can account for every trip that I have made outside our nation, whether it is on projects or programs or investments, or even the profiling of this country to put it in good standing for us to attract investment. In fact, the Nairobi Stock Exchange, which was almost closed, was rated the best in the world. Not said by William Ruto, but it was in the public domain by Bloomberg. If you don't believe me, believe Bloomberg.
Mr. President,
So I have done what I.
Let me share something. Ruto, why is CCTV footage? Yeah, Ruto, there is CCTV footage of the greenhouse and the econ. Like that, we have CCTV footage of police killing people. Ruto, why are you there? Basically, that's all I will be cured.
Whether it is coming from my staff, whether it is coming from this office, and I know people have raised issues of CAS, for example. I deliberately, even after Parliament had approved the position of CAS, I have not appointed any CAS because I realized that we were in a situation that we could not. And no CAS will be appointed until we have an economy that can support more opportunities. I know citizens have said that there is no need for the office of the first lady or second lady.
Third lady.
These are offices that were there. But because we have to live within our means, those offices from tomorrow, this new budget which is starting tomorrow, they will not be part of our equation because in the face of what has happened, we have to trim down every other area. And in fact, not just those, many other spaces are going to be trimmed down to reflect the new reality, especially after the finance bill was taken down by myself. When I said we take this down, we are going to cut our...
Arrogance from our president, yet families are mourning. By the way, Utapata, after interview, Akina Itumbi, well, you could, ukisema kitu narrative cha, guys, my eyes bleeding. If this is the person people want to sit down with, we have no president here. Was he there? King Ahab is thinking bad things. Summarize and summarize. Try to summarize. Ruto claims to see camera and catch criminals. Right? Countered with police killings footage, prompting Ruto's skepticism.
Inject my people.
Live, what is my life? Things. Alright, let's see this one. We must send Ruto home this week. We have the momentum, wherever you are, whoever you are, put pressure on your MP to impeach this liar who cares more about money than human lives. He has zero empathy or compassion to lead our nation. He's greedy and money-centered.
I think to a point your man ukasema every word. So ESG guys, I think
Yes.
ESG is this. Guys, najua tuna watch nini, but let's educate ourselves about what ESG is. And this is what ESG is. ESG is about it stands for environmental, social, and governance. ESG investing refers to how companies score on those responsibility metrics and standards for potential investment. So ukisikia majuu, ukiongea anything bad about the environment, so that's when unasikianga kampuni zinapata social meaning, carbon credits and all that. So when ESG ukipita on the environment part, people these people who investors, keep it on the social part where now you can't curse in public. That's why there is censorship. Huwezi ongea mbaya juu ya gazing, mambo ya transgenderism, huwezi ongea vibaya. That's why unaona mpaka mashule. It's not because they believe that. In the US, unapata machuzi na promote toto tufanye hii kukua transgender from baby to boy ama boy to girl, when they are promoting mpaka sports where boys are now competing with ladies because of this social score, this ESG score, for them to attract funding. When they score high in that government, unajua kuna ways they can monitor how you're scoring. Just this is the irony of it. Tesla is a company. It's a company that is producing electric vehicles, but the ESG score, because of how Elon Musk, it's so low compared to a company like General Motors. Na hii ina serving for the directly,
but Elon Musk is not into funding.
Yeah.
So funding,
he needs the funding. Even Twitter needs like X now needs the money. They need investors. They need a lot of money because it's making so many losses. But anahitaji mpaka advertisers. But now the advertisers can't advertise in X because they don't want to score low on this. And now kunakuja governance. Hapo ndo Ruto anaingia. They don't care about the impact on the lives of people. They care about the ESG score.
Yes. No, it makes more sense.
By the way, guys, you should be very careful about Ruto because umesikia kitu kama carbon credits, guys. If you have heard about carbon credits, at Kenya shares 2.4 billion. If you have heard about carbon credits, that's literally free money, guys. Hiyo ukianza kupata carbon credits, ka Africa, we are carbon negative. We produce negative carbon with our manufacturing. So companies are coming and buying those credits to go and get these ESG good scores. So ukisema wewe una environment kabisa in your production, but tutakuja kwa Ruto baadaye. You are destroying the environment 100%, especially in your production. So what is happening is these companies now wanakuja Africa because we are not producing a lot to environment, they buy credits. Now, that's free money. So you ask yourself, what are these carbon credits? So wakienda wanunue, produce environment like 1,000 scores. Sijui ni nini wanapima nayo. Tumeharibu environment like 1,000 scores. Now, what is happening is these guys need anakuja Africa. Nini amjaribu carbon credits zenu ziko negative because you are doing investment. But especially China and those companies wanakuja wanunue those carbon credits. So wakienda huko carbon tax zao zinabidimia because their carbon credits now are low. And somehow now on the vice versa, Tesla was benefiting on that initially when they were the only electric maker. Companies zilikuwa zinanunua carbon credits kwa zenye zina produce other vehicles zenye si electric. Now every car manufacturer is almost producing an electric vehicle, so they are no longer making money on that. Now the problem with Africa is that when we start producing, because we have to produce, in future lazima to produce. The moment we start producing more, what will happen is hatutakuwa na credits. And because we are already in that system, you know, ukiingia kwa system, maybe ukae nje, because that's how you start polluting the environment. Itabidi tumeanza kununua carbon credits. Now, we were given perhaps $1, and then we see $10 in 10 years, $20. I'm at $1,000. Can we really afford? Basically, what they want to do, they want to mess us up. That's what they do.
Thank you, but I must respect that there is a due process.
How no government?
The moment,
Statements.
you know, we will have a minister who is charged in court, meaning there is evidence that they have participated in crime. Believe you me, I will take the action that is necessary. But if somebody is taken through a process and that process comes out without an indictment, I mean, surely we must give somebody the benefit of doubt until it is proven. And the fact that
he's not addressing this.
The CEO,
Ruto,
general manager, and all the people that were there who actually evidence was
speaking to the international community. This and Kenyans, in Netherlands, they went to the ICC and they're saying reopen the case.
Yeah.
So when you say I have no blood on my hands, this message is not for Kenyans. When he's talking about the police have done the best.
Yeah.
When he's talking about commitment, then now he's taking this platform as a marketing platform to say things as that. Instead of answering the questions, the point to the question is being addressed here. He's talking about his achievements. So clearly, he's not speaking Kenyans. This conversation he's having with the international community.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true.
Not very
there is no evidence against a minister. Surely, do you want me to fire somebody if there is no evidence? You know, there was a time. Uhuru Kenyatta, as I served him as his deputy, removed 6 cabinet secretaries. But eventually, they were found that they were innocent, and we had to appoint them to be ambassadors. You know, so some of these, you know, actions must be tempered with process of law, you know, due process. So unless we follow due process, gentlemen, we will end up being something else.
Allow me just a moment, Eric, in a moment, because up to this point, Your Excellency, if I don't want us to lose the context, the last 2 weeks have been extraordinary. We've never seen anything like this. You have KDF troops in the streets of Nairobi. Up to this point, Your Excellency, and including on the question that I've just asked you of accountability within your government, do you think you are addressing the grievances that have made thousands of Kenyans across the country in places that were unimaginable to get out to the streets to say Ruto must go? Do you think up to this point they feel you've addressed their grievances?
I am not in their space. So I am doing what I believe I should be doing. I have taken the responsibility to withdraw the finance bill with all the attendant consequences. That I have done. I know what it means, and I know where it takes the country, and it is not a simple decision for me to make. And for your information, the finance bill was going to take Kenya big steps forward. But it's a sacrifice I have to make because of the political reality that we are in. But it will mean counties will have to take maybe 30 billion shillings off their budget. It means we have to reduce CDF by maybe 10 billion shillings. It means we have to rethink about what to do with JSS teachers. It means we have to put on the freezer. We wanted to hire another 20,000 teachers because there are kids who do not have teachers. It means we have to work on our UHC program. We thought we would upgrade, for example, Linda Mama. You know, we thought we would upgrade Linda Mama.
Here's something, Your Excellency.
It means we have to hold that, and it means many things.
Just tell them what else they want to hear. You are speaking outward, but looking at the grievances, they're also asking questions inward from you, Your Excellency. And what I can hear from these grievances that have been expressed quite loudly, you said you're not in their spaces. We sometimes get into the spaces to listen to what they are saying. And all they're saying is you cannot be for the next 3 years the president that you've been for the last 2. So what is that you're going to change about?
That's why
William
that's why Linus.
Yes.
That's why Linus. That's why we are here. Of course, it's not going to be business as usual with the kind of reality we are faced with now. It has to be different.
Do you regret anything at all? What you should have done better? What your people would have done better?
Well, maybe there are things we should have done better. We should have communicated better. I think the biggest problem we have, even with the finance bill, because the finance bill has great things for Kenya. The finance bill says we shouldn't be importing potatoes from Europe. The finance bill says we shouldn't be importing onions or eggs from Europe. The finance bill says we should be growing our own industries. We should be manufacturing diapers in Kenya. We have 10 companies doing that. We should be manufacturing all those things in Kenya. We should be expanding our manufacturing capacity. That is what finance bill was talking to. But I am sure we will recover that when we have explained. The biggest challenge that I regret is that we didn't communicate better. Maybe we failed in explaining to Kenyans what the finance bill was all about. Because I promise you, if I am given a chance to explain to the people of Kenya what was the finance bill and what the finance bill would have done for this country, every Kenyan would have agreed with me. But my regret is that
they would say you were here, Mr. President. They said you would have explained.
We didn't explain ourselves better. Maybe my communication team failed. Maybe I'm sure my communication team failed. Our communication architecture did not deliver, did not get the message out to the people of Kenya.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at what people were saying, they were saying, for example, there is a matter of land on the finance bill. There was no matter of land in the finance bill, not even a single line. And it is on that basis that people rejected the finance bill and many other things that were not in the finance bill.
Now, communication is about words, Mr. President. Let's go to the deeds. Because when you see what Gen Z is doing, for the first time in the history of this country, we've had protests on the altar of the Holy Family Basilica. Because the young people of this country are telling you the political culture, which you've been part of having politicians speak in church, converting the platforms into, converting the pulpit into campaign platforms must end. So I'm not hearing you addressing and looking more inward into this whole picture that the Gen Z is painting. They're not just talking about some of those things that you're raising.
On that, Linus, I have even had an occasion to speak to church leaders here. On that, on matters of politics on the pulpit, I am 100% aligned. We shouldn't be using pulpits in churches or in any other places of worship to prosecute politics. It is not right. And I agree, we need to change that culture. We need to change the culture of Harambee. Harambee started as a noble exercise. It supported many people to go to school. It supported many people to deal with the challenges of medication and hospital bills. But I think it has been stretched.
It bred corruption?
It has stretched too far. And I think it's time,
corruption?
As a country, we must stop corruption. We must stop Harambees, because it is occasioning and it is breeding, if I may say, corruption.
Yeah, because when your aid of a much lower pay grade donates 20 million shillings to a church fundraiser,
there is something fundamentally wrong. And that is why this conversation is necessary, so that we can stop it.
Conversation, Mr. President. On Wednesday, you said you are hearing that there's what the Gen Zs are saying, and you're going to initiate a conversation. We saw the head of public service release a press release saying that there is now a formation of the National Multi-Sectoral Forum that will bring together all people. And you started having conversation with church leaders. The Gen Z, upon seeing this, are saying, we did not ask for a conversation. We asked for action. So what action is going to precede this conversation? Because the conversation is another talk. It reminds people of the NADCO talks, the BBI talks,
IPPG.
the IPPG talks that just happen and they just don't end. And people are saying, we want action, Mr. President, right now. We will participate in action, in conversations maybe later, but now, now, Mr. President,
Yes.
what's the action?
I promised that I will engage the young people. Yeah, I promised. I was just making good my promise. And I promised a multi-sectoral forum, and that's what I have put out. I also promised that these are some of the topics I want us to discuss. I want us to discuss debt. I want us to discuss taxation. I want us to discuss unemployment. I want us to discuss corruption. I want us to discuss these issues. And it was a suggestion, and I am open. I am hearing that the young people are saying, we don't want a multi-sectoral forum. Maybe we should have an engagement with the president on X. And I am open to having an engagement with the young people on a forum that they are comfortable with. If they want me to engage with them on X, I will be there.
At this point, Mr. President, do you think you know what the young people want?
I have many young people in my house.
Are they telling you all is well?
The same ones that are in all these other spaces. And they want an engagement. They have ideas. They have suggestions.
Okay, because
and I am open. If what we are doing.
Let me comment. This guy is so much focused on addressing the international community, right?
Yeah.
He's trying to make sure the dirt on his profile is polished up, cleaned up. Right? But what he does not know, what the interviewers are doing is genius. Now they have moved from asking about the government and how it should be run. Now they are questioning his personality. They are questioning his person, who is Ruto. So they are also asking, do you think? So what right now he is portraying to the international community is a part of him. He can't listen.
Maybe he can't reason.
So, and he does not know it. He's so much
Into himself,
consumed
by himself.
in presenting a certain meaning mzuri, no blood on my hands, police did the best. That's for international community. And that's why he didn't know he's betraying his mind when he says, that's why I want the conversation. This is already a conversation.
Yeah, you're already having the conversation. What else is there?
And it's because if what he means by that, he wants a certain group of young people to show up. And that's the first move, Gen Z.
Yeah.
And they are okay with having this conversation. But he's not addressing us. He's addressing it.
That's the problem with this guy. He unajua akona shida moja. He is so full of himself, he doesn't see his mistakes. Unaona? He is unaona watu bado. Na the thing is, yadanganya watu. People are seeing, unajua kama zamani, sorry to say, at this old Gen X, wanadanganyanga very fast than Gen Y. Very fast. Kama it proof hakuna uongo. When this man is, he lies with impurity.
Exactly. He isn't even remorseful. He's not holding
police to accountability. This man must go.
So while he's so focused on your image yake ya huko, he's destroying himself here. And he's also in return destroying that international image. He's trying so much.
Yani huyu mwenda wazimu akoma concerned about properties and the lives that were lost. Ati hiyo ni mtu mmoja alikufa. You can't beat that. Ulikuwepo.
The guy is talking as if he resurrects no soon. Mr. President, you're only falling more and more every day you speak.
Yeah.
It's better for you to directly admit your mistakes and take full responsibility without backing up. He will never do that because he had marketed himself as genius, as smarter than all other presidents. So for him to accept the mistake means whatever he presented himself was a lie. That he cannot do.
Okay. Let me take you Zakayo Kadiro and thank the devil in
I think evidence for
That's for Karata. You so and so my way is the evidence. Guys, this is evidence. It's so much that karatasi kawapi jamaa basically they are shooting on rock. Yellow. Mtu anachukua video. Parliament polices. Guy, that is.
oh my God.
This serious guys, right? Kwanga ako nje. Ako nje.
It started the other Monday. So let me ask you, Linus, the protests, I finally decided that because we didn't communicate sufficiently to the people of Kenya the import of the finance bill, and there was so much built around it, including a lot of fake things, you know, that were not in the finance bill. Many things that were not in the finance bill were used to fight the finance bill. And you know, at some point, many people did not even care what was in the finance bill. Do not care. I think, you know, at some point, you know, as leaders, we must stop somewhere and say, we have a country to run. I mean, we cannot be reckless. We must, at some point, stop and say, what are the consequences? Because everything we do has consequences. And we must be careful as a nation to make sure that our country does not go down to the dogs. And believe me, countries, you know, have gone in the wrong direction. And we must be careful. And I don't want to be the leader that took the country in the wrong direction. We must be measured. We must be careful. We must listen to the young people. We must listen to other views and be able to make a carefully well thought out plan for the country out of where we are.
Yeah, but what if the protesters are actually saying something in totality about your government, not just about the finance bill? It's not about just the finance bill, is it?
Linus, as I have told you, we are a democracy. The people of Kenya can make a decision. Yeah? And I am perfectly, you know, alive to the fact that when the people of Kenya finally, the same way they decided to elect me When they make another decision, we will comply as the people of Kenya. That's what a democracy is all about. People can vote in a government, people can vote out a government for whatever judgment the people have. So I want to be very clear to the people of Kenya that I will do my best to make sure that I tell the country the truth and I take the country forward. And I am committed to that. And I can see Kenya changing. If I had managed to pass this finance bill, Kenya would not be the same. We would take this country to the next level. The kind of investment I have made, the kind of collaboration with many friends that we have done, we would begin to see this country soaring into the future. But all is not lost. Maybe we have taken one step back. Sometimes maybe it is necessary to take one step back to be able to take many steps forward. And that is my thinking of this situation.
But surely it must bother you, Mr. President. 2 years ago, you ran such a euphoric campaign with things like down the line. Your state house is surrounded by the military. The military tanks, scary as they are rolling on the streets of Ruto must go. Surely that is such a fast slide. There must be something that causes one to pause and say, how did we get here? What happened here? And one would have expected an earth-shaking statement tonight that tells the country, I get it. Something has shifted in a major way in our country, and I'm also shifting as your president who's listening, and this is the new direction things are going to take.
Let me tell you, Joe, I came into office at a difficult time. Yeah, we have a combination of coming out of COVID. We have a serious drought that hit our country. We had interest rates that went up everywhere. We went into a very difficult situation. What did many countries do? Many countries went and defaulted. And I don't want to mention countries because it's not right to mention. But almost 8 countries in Africa went down. Many people expected Kenya to be among the 8. But believe you me, I have carefully managed the economy of Kenya. Kenya is not among the countries that have defaulted. If anything, we have running programs in Kenya. We have a whole housing program that is running. We have a whole digital program that is running. We have made changes in our education. We've hired more teachers. We've made sure that we have a new funding model for our universities. We have supported our farmers. We have reduced the cost of living. We have done many things, even in the context of all the challenges that we have had. I am telling you, I came in and I believe I'm the right person to be in this space when Kenya is in a difficult position, because I believe I am the person who can sort out the challenges that faces Kenya at a point like this.
But when the public and the protesters, the Gen Z, some of who actually formed the base of your election campaign, are telling you, we are disappointed, you've not delivered. Hashtag Ruto must go. What do you tell them?
Let me tell them the following. Good friends, the young people of our nation, my sons and daughters who supported me to win the election. I hear you. In fact, I saw, I think it was on your headline, a gentleman from my village who was saying, the president has let us down. Many children in this village are not getting jobs locally. That is why they are going abroad. Little did he know, my good friend from my village, that the children, the 500 of his colleagues around our village, are actually part of my plan on export of labor. They have actually, I intentionally supported them to leave the country because we got them jobs outside Kenya. So I am telling the young people of our nation to be patient. Our housing program is rolling. We will be hiring more architects, we will be hiring more engineers, we will be hiring more professionals to support our housing program. In the next 2 years, we will have 300, maybe 1,000 people working in that space. Be patient. We are sorting out the challenges that are facing our digital space. We're rolling out our digital space. Young guys, by the end of next year, God willing, we will have a digital hub in every ward in Kenya, because we have already started that process. Every TVET in Kenya today has an ICT.
Do you know, like, he literally came to open one in Sakana, and guys, I can assure you, imemea nyasi, by the way, hakuna kitu iko hapo, na iko tu hapa kwa town, na ni alifungua, and since day one, it is not in operation. So hivi yote ni PR.
We are no longer importing furniture. We are going to stop importing eggs. We're going to stop importing onions and all this, because we want to promote our local manufacturing to be able to create jobs for them. We are no longer going to be importing diapers or sanitary pads from other countries. They are going to be manufactured here.
Mr. President,
I have worked with the industries to make sure that we create opportunities for these young people. We are going to work with them to deal with the challenge of corruption. We're going to work with them to cut down on government like this. I am going to make sure that we have a lean government that responds to the reality of where we are as a country. That is what I am telling my good young people.
There's another group of young people. Please speak to them directly.
Yes.
The young doctors who are in university graduating this year,
yes,
who are going to look for internship in the next year. The young JS teachers who were on strike a couple of weeks ago, who are expecting to be absorbed into full, permanent and pensionable contracts this year. The young clinical officers also who are graduating and they expect to go on internship. The other clinical officers who were hired on contract during COVID and other programs that are just contracts, and contracts are coming to end.
I am
telling
the JSS teachers, I had factored in 18 billion shillings this year's finance bill to be able to transfer them to permanent and pensionable. Because in my phone, so many of them have asked me, Mr. President, we came in, we had an agreement that we are going to be interns for 2 years, we will move to permanent and pensionable. Although I don't have the finance bill, I want to tell them, give me a bit of time, let me figure this out, how we are going to do it without the finance bill. We had also put 3 billion shillings for the doctors so that we can be able to sort them out, especially the intern doctors and those who we intended to hire to under our UHC program. I had put 10 billion shillings on the UHC program under the finance bill. That is now not in the equation. I have to figure out, let them just give me a little time. I'm going to figure it out again, because I know and I feel, and I made a commitment to them that we will do this. So even in the absence of the finance bill, and even as we cut down on expenditure on many other areas, it is still my commitment that we will see what to do with them so that the job they are doing in teaching our children, in treating our people, do not go to waste.
Mr. President, we're almost winding down this, but have you noticed that those young people, they actually have worked out the things that they believe you can take out and still be able to do the important things? Because you seem to have this elaborate plan, and I'm wondering where their views will fit in, because you seem to have this all worked out, but they probably don't want all those things.
That is why
they have figured out.
That is why, you know, part of what I told you, Joe, is communicating, you know, and I hope this time round I find a medium where I can engage, you know, and I'm ready to go to this place to engage with them, and I want to tell them this is my plan. Okay, tell me how I can make this better. Tell me this is not good enough, you know, change this, because I have seen some of the demands they have made. They have said that don't hire CASs, and I agree with them. They have said remove the office of the first lady, the spouse of the second lady and all that. And I have agreed with them. They have said a couple of things that we already are in agreement. They have, of course, said some of the things, abolish the office of women rep. I've seen they have also said we should reduce the salaries of MPs to 200,000 or something. Some of those things are things that are not in my power. Those are the things that we need to do a whole of society, a whole of nation approach, so that if we are bringing down salaries from 1.1 trillion to 700 billion, that is something I am willing and I am ready to start with my own salary, going down to salaries of others, so that we can all live within our means.
Your Excellency, we're now going to our final questions. And my final question will be about the protests and the deployment of KDF, which you did a few days ago. Now, the Gen Z, millennials, and the online Kenyans that are organizing these protests are promising to be back on the streets on Tuesday. What should we expect on Tuesday when protesters, peaceful as some of them have been, turn up on the streets of Nairobi? Do we expect them to be chased away by the Kenya Defense Forces?
First, the Kenya Defense Forces will not be on the street. They only come as a last resort. If the demonstrations will be peaceful, I promise you, the police will be there to protect the demonstrators. But the police will also be there to make sure that the criminals, the fellows who come to burn offices, the fellows who come to loot property, will also be dealt with. That is my commitment. We must all operate within the law, and that is what it is.
My final question is on the elephant in the room, the elephant in our budget, public debt. Candidate William Ruto responded to a question during the debate, and he said he's going to commission an audit of the public debt. President William Ruto last year responded to the same question and said it's important for us to audit our public debt. Today's question is when?
Public debt is actually a public document where we are as a country. The 10-point-something trillion of our debt is in the public domain. But I am prepared for us to put in forensic experts as part of this exercise so that we can all appreciate, yes, this is what we owe, and then agree, how do we pay? How do we deal with it? In fact, I was in Korea. In fact, Korea, when they had a problem of debt, the whole nation came together and people contributed gold. Others contributed many things because they wanted to pay their national debt. Maybe we will need that conversation once we are all clear that this is public debt.
My question, Mr. President, is when?
As soon as we finish this conversation, once we have agreed that this is the way we are going, I will institute the necessary steps to make sure that that debt is audited and it is made public for Kenyans to know this is the public debt. And I'm sure it will not take a month for us to be able to know, what is Kenya's public debt? And then we can take it up from there and go forward.
Mr. President, my final question is about your cabinet. Given the things that have happened, given the questions that have been raised about fertilizer, about edible oils, about sugar and all of that, tonight, can you look Kenyans in the eye and tell them you have full confidence in the cabinet that is currently helping you to run the country?
The cabinet that I have maybe could have done better.
That's not the question, Mr. President.
Maybe could have done better. I'm answering your question.
Okay.
Yeah. maybe unless you have a better answer, allow me to answer.
No, I just thought my question was specific, but you can
that's
go
what
ahead.
I'm saying. So maybe my cabinet would have done better, right? And I am going to do a soul searching on how we need to move forward.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. President, for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is where we end this conversation with the President tonight. My colleagues have been Lena Kaikai from Citizen TV, Royal Media Services, and Eric Latif representing KTN News from the Standard Media Group. And my name is Joe Ageyo from NTV. Do have a lovely evening.
That was a great interview. Those guys did a great interview, but we have a scam as a president. That's a fact. We have a scam as a president, but the guys there did a great job. That's awesome. Najua time imeenda sana. And by the way, when I started this sikuwa nafikiria nitareact from this interview, but I thought it's a good idea. I want to speak about some of the things. Just hata sitaongea, we do another live on the topic nilikuwa nataka kufanya. But before that, I just want to see what Kenyans or next are saying, just to have a view. Watu wameamini Ruto ama ama kunaendaje? So let's do at home. Kumbe Kimani Ichung'wah Kanani bahati yake hakupatikana. Which way is here? Hii ni asubuhi. Yes, okay, Kenyans are just maybe before wachukue account na some hotel. Kwani imeenda? Yeah. You mean account rent? Wow, that's serious. Some hotel means main account ilienda. Well, that's very serious. Anyway.
Boy, Mr. President, this boy, 12-year-old, took 8 bullets into the body of a 12-year-old boy. What would you tell the mother of that boy?
That boy is alive, right?
Okay, Onyango died.
He's died.
So he's the one who died.
Yes.
So you're not talking about the person who was shot with rubber bullets.
No.
Yeah.
Shot with bullets 8 times.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
In Ngong, this is the situation in Ngong, right? In Ngong, there was an incident where the police were overpowered by criminals. They took fire from the police. They used that fire against people. And one policeman had to shoot this fellow who had hijacked a gun from a policeman so that not to endanger the lives of more citizens. It is among the 3 people. One of the criminals is among the 3 people who was shot by the police after they overpowered the police and took the bullet and took the gun from the police and used it against innocent citizens.
That's a lie.
I cannot confirm to you that this is not the man that shot the child, but investigations are going on and we will get to the bottom of it.
Mr. President,
I am telling the mother of this young person that I, as president, will make sure that finally I will give her an explanation of what really happened and make sure that we bring this to a situation where, like her, like myself who have children, she too can be a child.
Now what wameteta, yeah. This guy is just to be clear, State House and their 113 advisors requested this media na utembo. Pesa unachoma. Aisa amekubali kuingia Twitter space to speak your opinion. atakuja atatumeka huko mbaya mbaya, ataenda huko atatukana ashtuke. When will you stop lying? Nisha kusikia tu. You guys really think we are coming to space we have this people interview from the state houses like this? You know, this guy is so full of himself. I think the dude is so full of himself. Ruto is so full of himself, like literally ile ya ubaya. Hata sijui kama anaweza saidika huyu. This guy can't be helped. Hawezi saidika. This guy, man, this guy ako nje.
Mr. President.
This guy ako nje. So guys, I won't even continue that. Hope anyone with a question? If you have a question, I can answer. If there is none, I will just let it be. Acha, let's call it a night. Thank you. Leo watu X wamejoin hii space na ubaya, naona tuko na 241 people on X. Thank you for everyone who joined it. At least tunaona something in my eyes na nimeshukuru everyone who took part in this. And I appreciate so much. So thank you. Good night, guys. Okay.